Hi, y'all. Welcome back to Date Car Pod. I'm Jenna. And in the famous stupid words of one Devin Strader, are y'all done yet? Well, no, actually, no, we're not. Because here I'm coming in with my third episode about you, bro. At least, if you want to count the entire season where I also talk shit, go ahead. But we're not done yet. We would like to continue to talk about the situation and what it as a bigger picture also like means regarding Bachelor Nation and like reality television and casting, because this is obviously not a new conversation, i.e. the conversation being casting people who have toxic histories and backgrounds and potential criminal actual charges in situations where they're going to be dating people and all of the trouble that that causes both on the show, behind the show, and for the audiences. And to have a conversation where I just wanted to continue this community chat, I'm so excited to bring on a guest, a friend of the pod, somebody who's been in the DMs for years, all the way back to the Chatty Broad era. I am just so excited they jumped in the DMs and said, let's talk about it. Please welcome to the podcast, Natalie.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm so excited. Yeah, like you said, I've been in the DMs for years. And I'm so happy to be here, especially to talk about this train wreck. Not that it's not always a train wreck, but this is, like you said, like my specialty. So, and we'll get into that, what that means in a minute. But yeah, no, very, very happy to be here, very excited. Always love the vibe of the pod. And
Thank you.
so I can absolutely match it. So like, let's get into it.
Let's get into it. Well, so I guess, but well, we're joking around a little, but this episode will include content warning, discussion about domestic violence, sexual assault, um, toxic behavior, allegations, the concept of just like this, all of what this stuff entails.
Yeah,
And it is very okay if you do not want to listen to this episode. It does not make you
absolutely.
any less of a fan of The Bachelor, a fan of Date Carpenter, if that even exists. Um,
Or
doesn't,
an advocate for
advocate,
domestic
yes.
violence or sexual assault. Yeah, you're not any less of someone who cares
Yeah.
if you need a break from this because everyone is talking about it and this is a lot.
It is a lot. And it's just like, it's frustrating and it's going to frustrate us. Like, you and I are going
Wildly.
to get through this conversation and we're not going to really feel like better. Like, I'll feel better in some ways because like we'll talk together as a community, but like it's frustrating. So if you need to tap out, you're good.
Yep.
You're good. Also, we're just like two dumb broads talking about it. So like, Natalie has a
Literally.
lot of like insight and things that we're gonna go into, but like we're also not trying to like actually solve any of the problems 100%,
No,
and
absolutely not.
whatever. So we'll get into it. But
It'll
before we
be
do,
fun and
yeah.
it'll be a little educational at times.
Yes, exactly. That's what we aim here at Date Card Pod. So, very excited that you're here. And before we get into all that, let's learn a little bit more about you as a viewer. When did you start
Yeah.
watching the show?
Um, so Bachelor, I was like never, I remember hearing about it, like in, media and everything and pop culture, and I was never really into it as like a young person. And then I started listening to Chatty Broads, like day one listener. And so, because I was just, someone introduced me to Becca because of her hair, because I wanted a haircut like hers. And I was like, okay, she's cool. And then I started listening to her podcast when it started. And then they were like, okay, I guess we'll recap Colton's season.
Oh my God.
And Jess's vibe was amazing. And I was like, you know what? Like, I want to know what they're talking about. I want to keep listening to them. I guess I'll watch The Bachelor now.
You're shitting me. That's
Yeah.
a wild way to enter.
So it's actually ironic that this is why I'm on the pod because
Yeah, let's.
yeah, yeah. So because so that the first season I started with was Colton's. I did see like a little bit of the end of Ari's because that blew up so much.
True.
So I did like watch like the last episode of Ari's, but I wasn't like into it at all. The first official season I watched was Colton's. And it was wow. Like it definitely like combined with the recaps, like it got me hooked of like, okay, I'm gonna watch a show, I'm gonna listen to the recap. Like, and ever since then, I just expanded my listening habits as far as like all the podcasts I listen to slash watch. And so now here I am. I listen to about like 5 or 6 different recap podcasts. We were just talking about it before we started.
Oh, I love
And I
it.
can't stop.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
As
great.
Gore often says, Game of Roses often says, I'm very complicit, very complacent.
Mm-hmm.
I know that this is not a great franchise, but here I am. Here I am. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I am. I'm here.
We're here. Yeah. That's all you can ask of us right now. Okay?
Here.
We're here.
Yeah.
We're here. Please. Oh, that's so fucking funny. Okay. Well, I will say so I get, from that point on, the seasons have been honestly it's so funny. Sometimes we talk so much shit about certain seasons
Yeah.
being horrible, but then like with hindsight you're kind of like God, do I miss did I kind of liked Peter's season, didn't I? You know?
Truly. Truly. No, honestly, like, was it a shit show?
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it a shit show in like kind of the right ways?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, do you have anyone that stands out that you're just like you're a stan though? You stand the season, you stand the person.
Not,
Yeah.
no.
No. Okay, so you're a normal person. Okay, great. Good to know. It's great that we
Oh, I
established
mean,
that
no, but
baseline.
no, I don't, I feel like I haven't been watching long enough to feel
Mm,
that strongly.
yeah.
Um, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, I mean, just like the last few seasons, obviously, like, have been really, they've picked really good leads.
Yeah,
Like,
true.
I fucking love Charity. I
Joey's
fucking love
great.
Joey.
Yeah.
Fucking love Jen. Like, those have been really good lead, in my opinion, really
Hmm.
good leads. I usually, okay, so I end up following Bachelor people, right? Like, while their season is like airing, just to like for funsies. And then I end up unfollowing them because I get bored. You
Hmm.
know who I haven't unfollowed? Charity.
Yeah. She brings it.
Fucking Charity. Oh my God. She is just like someone to follow.
Hmm.
Like, just
Very.
generally.
Yeah.
She's funny. She's like stylish. She's interesting to follow. Like, her and Dotton are hilarious. I also follow Dotton. Like, again, a good follow. But I just feel like they're like grounded people. So I guess I kind of stand them, actually.
Yeah, that's the correct answer. So yeah, we're good.
Charity and
No,
Dotton.
yeah, I love them.
That's
They
the
are a good
answer.
follow. She is so they are both. I mean, he is too. Actually, they're both like effortlessly stylish. I mean, like in
And
that good way.
effortlessly funny.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
very
he
funny.
is so a fellow Virgo. So funny.
I love
So freaking
when people
funny.
are like telling him to smile more at the show. He's like, "Y'all
I
gonna
know.
shut up, or they're gonna kick me out. They're not gonna let me come back." Like that's the humor. Like that's so funny. He's just like,
Yes.
shh, they
Yes.
can
Yes.
see."
He's like, I can't control my face. Like, again, Virgo. Hello.
Yeah,
But he's just so, he's so fun. He's just so, they're both so real, I feel like. They
yeah,
both, and I know that's like,
yeah.
this is social media, this is reality TV, don't
Mhm,
know them, but like,
mhm.
they feel more real.
Yeah.
Like, right? They feel more like real people instead of like the Hannah Ann's,
Mhm.
Maddie Pruitt's, where it's like they're putting on a facade. Like, I feel like we see a little bit more peek into Charity, who she is as a person, a little more peek into Dotton and who he is as a person.
Mhm.
So like, and even Jen, like, I enjoy following Jen too. Her content with Dancing with the Stars has been really funny. She's like a content machine.
And
Like,
she's such great representation for people who don't know lyrics to songs, and that's really
yes.
important to me as one of
What
those members of that community. So it's really,
a
really
sick
important to me.
burn.
We stand.
It took me a moment because I'm not great with jokes or
Yeah,
sarcasm, ironically, because Virgos are supposed to. I'm sorry, I keep referencing astrology on
yeah,
accident, but
yeah. Well, go ahead and
Virgos,
tell us what your threes are.
okay, so I'm a Virgo sun, Aries moon, Leo rising.
Okay, there we go.
Um, so yeah, I don't have the sarcasm of a Virgo, but I think that's more of a like, I don't know, I just take everything literally. Um, so sorry.
No, it's good. That's
But
but that
yeah,
makes
but
me feel extra funny when I can deliver a line where somebody's like, "Oh, wait, okay."
it takes me a second. I'll get there. I'll get there.
Mm,
It just takes me a minute.
mhm.
But yeah, so I have that, like, that groundedness of that earth, and then those fiery moon and rising. So that's where all of the passion for this topic, domestic violence,
Yeah.
sexual assault, that's where all that comes in, is um yeah, just very, very into this, very passionate, willing to talk about it and be loud about it.
Yeah. Not keep
So
it in the
yeah, I've
shadows.
been very much that vibe since I graduated college.
Well,
So
yeah, let's get into that. So, what is your background and why you
yes.
wanted to come on and chat to me with me about all of
Yes.
this?
So, I got my degree, my bachelor's degree in social work. And that's kind of where I started to hear about crisis work and like domestic violence, sexual assault, and like the concept of like advocacy, which I loved. And so I took a training at the YWCA
Mm,
for sexual assault. And then I was a volunteer who supported people who
mm.
experienced sexual assault in hospitals. So I supported people who would come in and say, "Hey, I was sexually assaulted. Like, what are my options?"
You
And so I
supported
was
somebody
there.
like me. Like that is you supported somebody like me when I was 18. I went
Yes.
into the hospital and I was
Yeah.
had my
So
hand
I would
held.
have gone to someone like you, and I would have provided emotional support, um, support as far as like letting you know what was going to happen in the hospital, letting you know what your legal options are, offering to come to the police uh
Precinct or whatever.
yes, to like file a restraining order, in order of protection, things like that.
Things like that.
So, yeah, and so then that kind of was my opening to also getting into domestic violence. So I got a job at a domestic violence organization. It was like small, it's a smaller nonprofit, but they trained me in domestic violence, and I worked in a shelter on a hotline. I did community work. I supported survivors one-on-one. Um, Over the phone, in person. I did a wide variety of things at that
Yeah.
organization.
It just I
Um,
feel like there's a need everywhere you look in a scenario where people need help for all of those cases
yes,
and they might be experiencing houselessness due to their
yes,
domestic violence
yes.
at home.
I mean,
Lots of things, right? And so it's like,
addiction.
yeah,
I mean,
addiction.
it domestic violence intersects with so many different things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So really it's providing support for people in a lot of different ways, just um depending on what their situation is. Everyone is so different.
Hmm.
And it really showed me the wide variety of people who can experience
Hmm.
domestic violence. I mean, there were people who had PhDs in social work
Hmm.
who were like calling and being like, I've been in a domestic violence relationship for, 20 something years.
Yeah.
And so like, I mean, it's not just we always talked about this in our trainings, because I also did trainings on domestic violence and sexual assault. We always talked about it. It's not the person that you automatically picture. It's literally anyone.
Hmm.
The people that think that they are like immune from it even experience it.
Hmm.
So like the people like me who maybe have the trainings and everything can even experience it. So it's tricky, right? Um People who are abusive are tricky on purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's why when the victim blaming comes in, I get real frustrated and angry and passionate because literally these people are master manipulators and they get in there. Sorry,
No, yeah.
I'm
No,
like
yeah.
I'm going off, but like it just angers me because those people know how to make it so that you don't realize what's happening until you're too far in.
Hmm.
So for someone to be like, well, it's this person's, it's the survivor's fault. It's like they didn't know. There's a reason that this happened. And it's the abuser's fault. They know how to do it. They know how to be tricky.
And not to be like so like maybe I'm projecting, but like
No, no, no.
Devin's statement regarding the restraining order and the abuse, he
Don't
said some
even.
line. He said this line where he's like, "I've never inappropriately like touched somebody or whatever." Or there was like we could probably pull it up, but what I read to me was that he was like that he in his head
Mhm,
okayed the behavior. Like to him, what he
mhm,
did
mhm.
because it happened, I'm sorry, he believes it was like
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
Like, and that,
Yep.
like, that I heard that in
Yep.
his language. It was like, they convince themselves or whatever. I mean, I'm not,
Yep.
we're not here to
Oh,
like figure out
absolutely.
like how people's actual minds work. And like, I know some abusers can do it for different reasons and whatever, but like, I just so saw that and I was just like, yeah, he's like, and that's almost a form of blame too. I mean, actually, yes, it is. It's like she brought me to that point or whatever, where that was an appropriate response
Yep.
for me in this relationship.
Well, and I think it also the way he specifically said, I didn't put hands on anyone, right? That was what he
Yeah.
like he specifically mentioned physical abuse, right?
Yeah.
People can get restraining orders for reasons other than physical abuse, my friend.
Yeah.
Like me
Gil,
talking
Gil
to
from the
Devin.
Golden Bachelorette, who apparently just harassed his girlfriend for
I'm
weeks
like,
on end,
okay,
like
and that's
verbally
like
or
a
like by text or whatever, you know?
yes. That's a whole other like can of worms to open about like the myths that we have
Mm-hmm.
around domestic violence
Mm-hmm.
is that oh someone isn't abused until they're hit
Mm-hmm.
until they're like physically abused or sexually abused in any way, which
Yeah.
is a complete myth. Like the most common form of abuse is psychological abuse. And then there's also, I mean, there's financial abuse, there's
Mm-hmm.
emotional abuse, there's verbal abuse. And these things okay,
I
we're
know
gonna
you.
get into it just a little bit. I'm sorry. But like okay, the amount of people, one of the things I DM'd you was that because he said he specifically didn't put hands on anyone means he likely did not physically abuse her, right? And so if she got a restraining order based on maybe like verbal, emotional, psychological abuse, that is very hard to get a restraining order. It's
Mm-hmm.
hard to prove. I have worked with so many survivors on like gathering proof for an order of protection, which is similar to a restraining order. It just depends on where you live, on what they call it. But I have worked with so many survivors who go in with all of this proof, all of these texts, all these phone calls,
And
and the
they.
judge is like, it's not enough,
Mm-hmm.
or it that was too long ago. So the fact that she had enough proof and it was recent enough, it was extreme enough. Some people, it's like, oh, they didn't threaten your life. So you can't get this. We're not going to approve it. So he was doing enough. He
Mm-hmm.
was being abusive enough to get that approved, a temporary restraining order. Like that says a lot about the shit he was doing. Let me tell
And
you.
then he burns it on her driveway and then gets arrested for violating it in other ways, or maybe gets arrested for the DUI, but then he also gets arrested for violation of the restraining order. It's
Yeah,
like his behavior, he never abided by it
it
seemingly.
escalates. So
Yeah.
this happens all the time in abusive relationships when the survivor says, I'm done. I'm not standing for this. I'm going to do something about it.
Right.
The relationship almost always gets more dangerous. The abuser is like, I'm losing control. This person is trying to take control away from me. And so I'm going to try to gain control. I'm going to manipulate. I'm going to scare. I'm going to use my
Scare.
tactics.
Yeah. Hmm.
So that's what he was doing. This man is like abuser 101.
Like it's really like it's oh god, it's like scary. I remember when we started getting that information last week, it was fucking crazy. I mean, like, because we were like, oh my god, he's a piece of shit for how he treated Jen. He exposed all those DMs, which is like another example of just
Red
manipulation,
flag.
control,
Red flag,
red
dude.
flag, like
I was like,
violating, no boundaries. Thinks that he's valid in that action. Like he's completely worked it in his brain that he's like, this is the actual appropriate response for this situation. It was like, oh, okay, we're like
mhm,
completely dealing with like a not okay person. And then like a week and a half later, we find out all of this and it's so violent and scary. And like the DMs I got from people were just like, I've y'all have been around with for a while. I've we've experienced a lot this time together. I've had a lot of people DM me and be like, God, that was really fucking triggering. I'm not sure I could. I had a lot of people be like, that is a bridge too far for me,
Absolutely.
because like it's so scary to burn it in her lawn or whatever is such a clear message of like, I do not the
Yeah,
I'm above the law and
that,
I do not care.
that,
That's like that's terrifying. I have chills.
that. It was, yeah, chilling. Yes, it was chilling.
Oh my god.
The message that that sends is bizarre. It's scary.
And I think it goes to what you said. Like his behavior must have been such a way that if she was even able to get it originally prior to that, it's like this. It all like tracks to me, right? And uh, whatever. Like you could, if you're listening and you have a problem with us talking about it in this way, I'm sorry, but like I don't know what to tell you. Like
Yeah,
the
but
show has like never had a good track record, and like men who have done these things like have never had a good track record in this situation. So like fucking tell me I'm a piece of shit for just
no,
whatever.
but what we're the way we're talking about it is based on the way domestic violence works.
Hmm.
We're talking about it in a factual based on like these like models, like the power and control wheel, the I mean everything that I have learned, like I'm seeing it in this man. I mean, truly. The more that comes out, the more I'm like, oh my God, like the profile of an abuser. It's
Like
like,
it's just like fucking wild.
like I'm not exaggerating. Hold on. I literally like made notes.
Yeah, I'm like I want to
Like,
give you the space to talk shit, and then we're gonna talk about bigger picture conversation after we get our
yeah.
feelings
Well,
out about Devin.
yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, no, that, I mean, I guess that was kind of,
No, I just it's crazy. I don't
because
know.
like
It's
I
like
said, like restraining orders, I just, I can't express this enough. Like how many survivors I worked in the shelter with who went to court hearings, had to sit with their abusers in court, um, were so scared and worked so hard to like put things together,
mhm.
and they like their lives were like at risk and shit, like their safety at risk, and they were told you're not at risk enough to
Yeah.
have any protection. And I had to tell them, like, I'm so sorry that the system works this way. You
Mhm.
deserve to be protected. Or I even had to tell people who would call the hotline and say, here's what's happening to me. And they would list these horrific fucking things like this man was doing. And I would have to tell them, this didn't happen recently enough, or this isn't like
Blah blah
thing,
blah.
this
Yeah.
isn't enough
Yeah.
for a judge to grant you protection. And so I don't know, just
I
I guess
mean,
I want to emphasize like the fact we don't know everything
right.
that happened in this relationship, because the fact that she got this restraining order means that there's more that we do not know about.
Mhm.
And that's really scary. And so that goes back to what we're going to talk about next, which is like they're casting these men. It sounds like I didn't totally finish your last episode, but I was at the part where you were talking about how more has come out that like this did come up in the background check and he kind of like dismissed it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's fucking scary.
Mhm. Because it's like what there's a lot of people now who are going against like boundaries, safeguards set in
Yeah.
place to make things safe. If you're not doing that, then like what's the fucking point? Like I can't even
So why do you
I
even have those
like
then?
what are we even doing?
Mhm.
Oh my
Well, then it's
god.
like I think you said this also, but like are contestants going to stop signing up? Are people not going to want to be leads? Because I wouldn't want to be the bachelorette. Not that they would offer that to me, but
Oh my god.
I wouldn't want to be the bachelorette if I would know that that there would be like at least two abusers in the
Yeah.
mix that I don't know about. And
Like
again, I'm a
seriously.
professional. These men are fucking charming and they can trick you. And Jesus fucking Christ. Like, it's just, this shit's scary.
No, and I think Ben Higgins actually tweeted. He was like, "Is this the standard now?" And we got to give
Oh,
props to my king Ben Higgins because I have my
okay, I
personal
do stand him a little
history.
bit.
Yeah,
I
did
do
you
stand
see
him
my
a little.
stories
Oh
about
my
him?
God. Yes, yes, yes. Good. No, I
uh,
responded to you and I was like, this is so insightful. Like the stuff that about your phone call with him.
yeah,
I'm like shocked.
it was crazy, dude,
Like,
and it
do
was just
I
so
love him?
yeah. Like I think I like Stan.
I do stand him a little bit.
And like that shows so much growth to me, and he's continued to grow. And that I mean, he's really grown so much. And it's
Yes.
like he made a mistake by being like, gosh, the way Colton treated Cassie was clearly out of love. He just loved her so much that he did these things. And like
Yeah.
when given the information that that was obviously the very wrong take to have and
Yeah.
very harmful and perpetuates further abuse, he
Yes.
completely saw it, completely
Yeah.
like not backtracked. He learned, had people
Yeah.
on his podcast to talk about it, talked to survivors, talked to a professional, Canadian, whatever. And the fact that he's tweeting like, "What the actual fuck?" And then like during the finale recap, he was like, "Yeah," and then there was like allegations about Marcus. I'm not going to speak on it, which is his right to not speak on like allegations. Like he doesn't know all this stuff, and I'm sure
Yeah.
Ben's not like on Reddit, like not like the other newer leads and what have you. But it was just like, but I was so impressed that he even in
Yeah.
his position of power was like willing to stick his neck out to be like, this is not okay, and Jen deserved better. And
Love that.
but yeah, like him saying like this is like the standard now is really scary because it's like we are setting these weird precedences. And like and yeah, like as a lead, as a potential lead, am I do I want to even do this? Like do
Risk
I,
it.
and then also even as a contestant, like if you're like
Yes.
we're talking about men a lot because this is a lot of them that have the fucking shitty takes and the shitty things, but like even like a good man, quote unquote, or a man who's like not perfect. He knows he's not perfect, but is trying.
Well,
Like,
or
is
like,
he even going to want to apply because he knows he's going to be put under a microscope in a certain way
uh,
and all these things? And that's like, whatever. That's kind of here and there. But at the same time, I'm like, this continued drama, this shit, how it
yes,
happens each
yes,
time, and
yes.
the decrease in Instagram followers, the decrease in benefits from the show is going to lead it to now we're actually only going to have the trash of the trash willing to apply, as Shannon was like saying, like these shows bring trashy people inherently. Like obviously we have our perfect queens like Rachel and everyone else, right? But like I'm scared of what this means for the future.
Yeah, yeah. And like, I feel like we're starting to already like see some effects. We were texting about this a little bit, but like Clayton came out with a podcast. And the men are telling on themselves now, guys. The men are telling on themselves. It's just I just feel like we're learning about shitty men from past seasons even. And so
It was, and it's just like we are having all these random men just from the franchise being like, just really randomly like exposing themselves. Like I don't know, like honestly, like there was a lot of conversation about Jonathan too, like of just like the fact that he was like, oh, my girlfriend just like suddenly broke up with me in this kind of way, and you're like, and it's just like, I mean, okay, I don't know, whatever, I'm being a fucking
no, no,
bitch, but
it's like they're like yellow flags,
yes,
right? That's
right,
what I like to call them. Like they're
yeah,
like yellow flags of like I need more information.
hmm,
Like I
right.
need to ask some more questions. Like for me personally, like if I was dating a guy and like Jonathan, if John I was dating Jonathan and Jonathan told me that story about his ex who like, oh, I was supporting her through something and then she started like yelling at me saying I was gaslighting her and I was doing this and I was doing that, I would be like, tell me more about what was happening
Yeah,
during that
yeah,
she said that.
yeah. Like let's talk about that deeper. But
Like
yeah.
it was just like a little weird.
Mm-hmm.
Could it be just exactly what he said? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just kind of like I don't know. Sorry, because of my background and my own experiences, Personally, I my automatic is not to give someone the benefit of the doubt. Sorry, we can cut
Woo!
that out if we need to. We can cut any
No,
of this out if
no,
we
I
need to.
it's no, because I was like, I'm looking at my list here. I'm like, for me, as not somebody who didn't work in that field, but it's like the show has put me in a point where I'm at that level because Mike Fleiss,
Yes.
we've had
Yes.
multiple people from Becca's season that had issues. Joe from Michelle, we
There were
had
allegations of
yeah,
sexual assault.
Leo, there's Easy from
Yep.
Tayshia's season. There's literally like almost every season there's something on Reddit, like genuinely one person
Yeah.
from each season. And it
Yes.
doesn't obviously it's like whatever, I'm not gonna like proven whatever, blah. It's just like at some point, I mean the apple is rotten to the core. Mike Fleiss was the creator and runner of the show for 22 years essentially, and he had hit his wife and then was let go. Was just no big deal. Um, and then continued to run the show. So it's like it's just hard not to have it's hard not to just see the yellow flags and be like, I don't know about any of this actually.
Well, and it sounds like from what like things that have come out and what people have said is that he created the vibe of, especially like in the beginning of the show, he created the vibe of things being sexual harassy and like not safe.
Not safe.
And
Not a place where you could speak up and say, I'm not feeling comfortable in this
yeah,
situation.
yeah. Um, and some proof of that
Yeah, oh
was
my God. I was shocked
Meredith
to hear this
Phillips.
today. Yeah, Meredith
Yeah, so Game
Phillips.
of Roses talks about this or mentions it a lot. But Meredith Phillips was a lead. She was the Bachelorette. I'm pulling up the article now. I don't remember what
I think she was the
season.
second season of The Bachelorette.
Was it the second season?
It was early, I think.
Oh wow. I knew it was early. I just didn't know it was that early. So I found an article because I didn't know the details. So I wanted to look it up, but I found an article that came out May 2018. And she's it's like a it's an interview with her.
Hmm.
And so she's coming forward for the first time since it happened in 2003. And so this was like I think part of like the Me Too movement. Like this was when like the Me Too movement really got big. And so I think this is when she was like, okay, I'm gonna come forward. And so she talks about how she says that she was drugged and sexually assaulted by a masseuse hired by the producers of the show.
Oh my God.
So and I guess she said this. She recently appeared on Reality Steve's podcast.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um,
Shout out to that piece of shit.
yeah, we don't love him here. I don't listen to his podcast either. But yeah.
But I'm glad she had a
So
space to talk about this.
yes,
I'm very glad.
exactly.
I'm very grateful for that.
Um, and so she was like, normally I wouldn't really talk about this, but she wants to talk about it because it's been bothering her for years. She said she was roofied and kind of accosted during her time as Bachelorette. She said that I'm not gonna read all of it, it's kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
specific.
Yeah.
But basically, yeah, actually female masseuse, um, anyone can be an abuser, anyone can be abused, always. Like
Yeah.
um,
God.
but so yeah, they hired her a masseuse just to like behind the scenes, like not part of the show.
Oh my
Like come
God.
like just like help her relax. Like they just hired a masseuse to come help her relax. And she gave her something which she thought was an aspirin or Tylenol, and it was not. And so she doesn't really remember things. Remembers a little bit, but then remembers ultimately waking up in bed naked and she wasn't even drinking. Um,
Oh my God.
so yeah, so she
Horrifying.
it just again it comes back to like why isn't production protecting or like the show?
Yeah.
Why isn't the show protecting their leads better? Like, how was the masseuse able to do this? How was this person able to do this to a lead?
Yeah.
Why wasn't there anyone else around? Why wasn't there anyone checking in? Like,
And I'm sure Meredith didn't feel safe to like speak about it to her
oh,
producers.
understandably. But you know what I mean? Like, why
Yeah.
wasn't any like why
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
they the
Checks and
only two
balance.
people in the room
Yeah.
for so
Yeah. That would be
She said that despite wanting to end the show after the incident, she had signed a contract and wanted to stick with the commitment.
right.
And added that she didn't know how to bring it up to the producers at the time, like you
Yeah.
said, given that it was hard for her to talk about.
Of course.
Understandably, a
Yeah.
lot of sexual assault and domestic violence goes unreported, and so that's why the numbers aren't the numbers of people who are sexually assaulted and experiencing and who experience domestic violence are not accurate. So
And they're
there are more
already
people
horrifying at the level that they are.
they're higher. They're higher than we know because people don't want to report this understandably because one, emotions, right? Like trauma, emotions. Two, the system is broken. And three, it can be any reason. It doesn't
No,
matter.
yeah, you just like don't like you like she said in her thing she didn't know how to even talk about it. Like so
Yeah.
often you don't know how to talk about it until
Yeah.
years, if at all even, right? And that's
Yeah.
totally valid and like a very very common experience. And yeah, I mean, I'm somebody who experienced the thing of me one I spoke out, but I was not I was well, okay, the thing is I like you said earlier, I do thank the person that was honest with me. Like you had to be honest with people. They told me it wasn't going to go the way I would want it to go. So
Yeah.
I had an option, of course, but they
Yeah.
were honest with me, and I appreciate that honesty because obviously as I've grown up I realized absolutely they were telling me the truth,
Yeah.
and I still made like a case report, but it's like
Yeah.
and that was like good because you're like, okay, if something happens again, he'll have whatever.
Totally.
So
Yeah.
like, that was it. But then again, then I'm sitting here, what, I don't know how many years later, and I'm like, apparently it doesn't matter if you have a restraining order or you have a report, because it doesn't, because you're gonna go on fucking
And
television.
I've heard that from survivors too, of like especially people who have had experience with that person for a long time, who have said like a piece of paper isn't going to do shit. They're like, this person will do whatever it takes, and a piece of paper, the threat of like law enforcement does not matter.
No, to a lot of people.
And it's so I mean, the system is just it is not set up for survivors. It is set up for abusers. Um,
Mm, horrible. Let's talk about some of the bigger questions we have. We have a couple
sure.
questions. Like how is the show missing these things? And that kind of goes along with what kind of background checks are they doing there? Um, and then we've already kind of touched on how this will ruin the show. It's continued to ruin people's trust, popularity, willing to apply. They've had the lowest ratings ever for Golden Bachelorette on the heels of
Oh, I didn't know
this
that.
disaster. Yeah. People are pissed. It's not just like a oopsie. It's not just like he was MAGA. Like not alone. Okay, so yeah, I want to touch base on that briefly before we get into
Sure.
how are they missing this and what are they doing and how why is this the problem over and over again. But like I get so mad when I find out somebody's MAGA, but openly so or whatever. And when it
Mhm.
was on Jen's season, obviously it was like even extra horrible because she's a child of an immigrant family. She is a woman of color. She's an Asian American woman, and the hate for the AAPI community has been on a rise
Yep.
forever, and
Since
due
2020.
in part to Donald Trump
Mm-hmm.
and his bigotry. So, like, that alone is actually to me like a line too far. Like, genuinely, I'm like, ugh. But I do understand that, like, even those MAGA people deserve rights, all right, or whatever. Like I understand that he is allowed to be on the show, and all these people are allowed to be on the show.
Yes.
Like I get
Yes.
that. I'm
Yes.
not a
Yes.
fucking idiot. They can
Yes.
be on the
Yes.
show, and guess what? I welcome it because then I can drag them for all of eternity.
Yes.
But it's like, but then it's like this is like a level too far, and yeah, it's like how are they missing stuff like this? Um, and yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, I think I think there are a lot of like options, right? I think maybe they're not consistent. I think I know that like casting is like a long thing that happens. And so maybe there are some people that come in at the end where they're like rushing and they're like, okay, you're good, you're good, you're good. You know what I mean? Like, who
Yeah.
knows? Like, they're just maybe not doing their jobs the best. Bad at job.
Mhm.
Um,
Shout out, yeah, that's looking.
Shout out Gore. I will,
Yeah.
sorry. I'm
No,
like,
we know we love gore here. We're big fans. I wouldn't have half of what I have if it weren't for those lovely people. So shout out Pace
but
Case and Bachelor
I
Clues.
I think that's probably very likely. I think also a big possibility is that they see it and they don't care.
Yeah, I know we've been kind of circling around the they don't care component for a minute here, and I did see somebody post on Reddit like a month or so ago. They're just like, what can we do or whatever, and a lot of the comments were just like, in a genuine soft way that like they just don't care.
Yep. They just need bodies for the show that they run.
Yeah.
And if we're gonna go at it in like an evil way of like they're doing this on purpose, let me I had like I had a this is like a conspiracy.
Yes, Jane on beep 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 beep. We're doing it, folks. Hey, welcome back,
I
Jane
told you I could
on.
match the vibe. I knew
Yeah.
I could. This came to me. I had a revelation and I was like, what if? Okay. I like again, I feel like this is classic Virgo. I came up with a Venn diagram in my head.
Yeah.
And I was like, the show's need for drama, the profile of an abuser, and where they overlap. So, so ready? So, someone who will cause drama and an abusive person, they have same qualities in some ways, right? Risky behavior, charming, mood changes, manipulative, emotionally unattached. So
Ouch.
those kinds of people are good for reality TV shows and are also those are characteristics that some abusive people have.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Even the mood swing part, like that got me really hard because they want for the drama part of it, like just a
Yes.
person who's dramatic on television. They want somebody that
Someone
they
who can just like
know.
flip the
Yeah,
switch,
exactly.
like just rant like
Because like I think Thomas is probably a very lovely man. He got all weird and defensive and aggressive. Not aggressive is the wrong word, but he got all like defensive and like fucking weird. I think he's actually probably a very lovely man. But or maybe but I don't whatever. But like they seek out people who are gonna have those moments and who are gonna be sleep deprived, have a little alcohol in them, and do whatever. So like best case scenario, if we're like putting on like we're like everything is fine, it's like they're still gonna seek people who like have that ability. And yeah, you're saying this Venn diagram of the like, but that sometimes crosses over into people who have
yes,
the ability to
sometimes. Not
do
always. Like
right,
right, not
right,
everyone who has mood changes real or like
mhm,
not everyone is who has that is going to be abusive,
right, of
right?
course.
But if you have all of these things, if you're manipulative, emotionally unattached, I don't know. I've heard, I've seen online people describe some of the contestants who have been accused of domestic violence, describe them this way,
Yeah,
and they're reality dating TV show contestants. So, yeah, I just couldn't help but see
the potential for it being a little
yeah,
yeah.
like the through lines, yeah.
Because here's the thing I wrote in my notes is no one checking the forums. So okay, so here's the
No,
thing that
no.
you mentioned Reality Steve earlier, and it brought me back. I was thinking about this earlier. I used to watch the Reality Steve and Ashley Spivey Instagram lives that were happening in the pandemic, and because at that time Ashley Spivey like Reality Steve was smart to latch onto somebody amazing as she is, who really cared and stood up for what mattered. And but yeah, there was I think that was probably when like maybe the easy stuff was happening. I can't quite remember, but there was a lot of discourse, and I thought it was really, we were like heading that direction,
Yeah.
of like the show needs to release the cast early enough
Yes.
and then
Yes.
check the comments. And also, and Ashley was on this to make a special email that is just for tips. And there was a brief moment where
Yes.
that actually kind of existed. I don't think it was like a special email, but it was like, I remember like somewhere someone did there was some kind of official language out there where that was like, you can reach out to us, and then Ashley, so I think maybe actually it might have been Ashley like had an inside source through the show because she was on the show,
Oh.
and she was like, production has like urged, I'm being like alleged, but like contact them. If you know something, say something, right? But yet in Easy's case, his survivor like did do that, and then they didn't do anything about it. So it's kind of like it just, you start to wonder like if they care at all, because
Yep.
like they might be checking the forums, they might be checking the Facebook comments and seeing people being like, oh, I know that man, he's no good.
Yeah.
And but like, I guess I'm also just like, if they do want to have an easy way to help themselves get through this part and start to do better on this specific part, again, cast as many MAGA men as you want. I don't really give a shit. Just don't cast abusers. And so when you see the comments coming in, do the extra work. I do actually can understand them being under a time constraint. I can
Yes.
understand that,
Yes.
because producers and people are not being paid enough in the industry. Like, I
Yes.
understand that, but
Yes. Yes.
ABC.com has the money, and you can hire just a separate person who's like, that's their sole responsibility, is
Yes.
to vet
Literally.
that.
Literally, you have the money. ABC, like you have the money to do this. Like, why not do it if it's gonna bring some audience members back?
Right.
Like literally you can see the like correlation with these things happening and people literally saying in your comment section, I don't want to watch this anymore. Like how I just don't understand how they're just like, and now John Vassos. Like,
And you couldn't even protect her. I understand that his check came back clean,
yes.
but where we mentioned this, are you guys so fucking checked out? And I think that's the answer. You can't even see the vibes. Clearly, this man is a fucking weirdo. I mean, okay, I know like people can be charming and so whatever, but like, oh my god,
No, no,
like,
I understand what you're saying. Like
like
sometimes there is a vibe, and so like, I mean, they like we
for
hear
people who
people
are
talk
supposedly
about,
so manipulative, who can make a season happen a certain way, right? And like convince a contestant to like do a thing and whatever to get this outcome. You guys are telling me that you can't whatever, but then I'm like, maybe I'm conflating the two things. I know that like on-site producers who do the manipulation, like do that kind of shit, are not the people who are casting. So maybe I need to just like understand that, but
but you hear cast like past contestants and like I know Bachelor Clues has some insights because he's worked with people like contestants on the show and stuff, and people talk about how extensive like the pre-part is where you fill out all of those like the psych evals and the this like all of these questionnaires about who you are as a person. You're telling me there are never any red flags of like maybe we should talk to this person a little bit more before we say yes.
or interview their family and friends and their exes a little bit better.
Or I don't know, Google them.
Yeah, because, like, mm, ugh. So I asked Natalie if we understood, like, what kind of background checks are there? And what are they doing? And we don't really know, right?
No,
We're not,
unfortunately,
yeah, we're
no.
not smart like that. And Google was kind of weird. So I went to Chat BT, whatever. I went to Chat GBT. And I asked them, I said, hello, chat.
I
Um,
know nothing about this stuff.
so I only go to them for Bachelor shit, which is so funny. So I think they do kind of know me now. I didn't even have to say what it was.
That's
So I
hilarious.
was like, what kind of background checks would you do for a contestant who's going on a reality television show? I didn't even say dating. I just said reality television show. They're like, but they could do county criminal history search, a sex offender registry check, social security number, trace, driving record, and education verification. And they said, oh yeah, so they would do. Okay, no, that was actually a different screenshot. So yeah, they would do a national criminal database search, a sex offender one, county criminal one, federal criminal record search, identity verification, and civil court record search, which is where
Oh,
a lot of the that's where looks into
yeah.
history of lawsuits or restraining orders.
Well, and in the county one too.
Yeah, your driving record, which also should have pinged for Devin because he had a DUI.
Yep.
And then social media and public record search, which I was like, GPT, you know me, because they were like a review of public profiles, comments, and behaviors to identify any concerning behavior patterns such as rhetoric or hate speech. I'm like, yeah, okay,
Okay,
well,
but honestly, that should be a thing that they
well,
do.
and so this is what Chat GPT is telling me that the a reality television show. These are the steps, the 8 steps that they would do to check, right? Some shows may require more extensive checks depending on the format and the risks involved, like interpersonal ones. Okay, so then I said, can you see if a contestant has a past restraining order placed on them? And chat said, yes, background check can reveal if a contestant has had a restraining order placed on them in the past. This would typically be done through the civil court record search, as that's where those are at, blah, blah, blah. The search would look into persons' involvement in civil cases, including those related to domestic disputes, harassment, or stalking, which have may led to a restraining order. However, the ability of this information can depend on the jurisdiction. Some restraining
Mm,
orders may be sealed,
which I
or
did
not.
hear
Yeah, yeah. But his
that
one was like it was not was sealed.
one of them,
Yeah, I think the original one, but the arrest records and the violations were unsealed.
so it would have said under the arrest record,
It was a violation of a restraining
arrested for
order.
violating the restraining order.
Yeah, so
So it would have
that's
said
the
that there was a restraining order.
yeah, exactly. So,
Hello. Okay.
but I have more to say. So then, they might be sealed or not publicly available, especially when issued in a family court or involving sensitive information, because this is a safeguard meant for victims of violence, in vulnerable situations, which I very much understand. And then
Yeah.
he said, however, production companies can still take extra precautions. One, direct interviews and disclosures. Some reality shows include clauses, which this one does, Bachelor does, which excludes contestants, or it makes them inquire them to disclose any past legal issues, including restraining orders. Misrepresentation or failure to disclose can result in legal consequences. Hi, Devin. 2, through personal references, talking to former employees, acquaintances, or family members might help identify patterns of concerning behavior. And then psychological evaluations, seeing if they're a risk. These additional steps can complement traditional background checks to ensure a safer casting process. Thank you, ChatGPT.
Yeah, I just don't think they care enough. They just don't care enough. They don't care enough to take the extra steps. They were like, "Oh, it's sealed," but he had the arrest records. He had the
And
DUI. Like,
so that's where the thing is. There was an inside source. I think Dave Neal mentioned it on his podcast or something, where they then were like, "Hey, Devin, this came up a little weird. What happened?" And he was like, "It's a misunderstanding. It was nothing." We don't know what he said, but like he made them okay with going forth on him. The fuck?
that
And that tells me
feels
everything I need to
silly.
know about they don't care.
That's yes, yes, yes. Yup. Yep, 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 yep,
Mm,
yep, yep.
mm.
It may be my a little bit of my conspiracy.
Listen, I exactly.
Maybe a little sprinkle, sprinkle of like, maybe this will be good TV. I
It
don't
just, but
know.
like, I just don't understand how they don't see at this point that certain actions that they do, like they're writing a line. I get
I
that. Like,
know.
I do,
I
I get
know.
that. Like, I get that. But like, they're writing such a precarious line, and I've been saying this for weeks on end now, ever since this is all like come out. Like, you've batted 0 for a fucking 100. Like, you've never gotten it right. You've never gotten it right. You've never gotten it right. You've taken a risk on every single one of these men, and you've never gotten it right. Marcus, and you're fucking lucky. Devin is such a fucking loser, or your shit would be on blast.
Oh my
But like,
God.
it's
I
like,
would be ready to tear him apart. Oh my God.
But like I bet you they saw the like comments eventually, and it's just like and the thing is we have been proven that they can do it because they're gonna ghost Gil out of the Bachelor Gold Bachelorette, and they ghosted Lincoln out of Becca Kufrin's season, who he had a similar thing. More or less
Yeah,
was like had a charge against him, but then it was like but it was sealed.
yeah,
But then he did another thing during whatever that got him arrested again, and then they were like, "Oh, we need to like we found out about your violent past. We have to like ghost you out of the show." But it's like, so yeah, like how have you not learned your lessons that like this
yeah.
is the line too far.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like, why do you keep doing it? It's because they don't care.
So what do we do?
Like, yeah,
What do they do? What do we do? I guess
I don't know.
I told them to go to chat GPT. Just listen to what they said. They gave me multiple points, very clear. It was very clear.
I
Do
mean, they're
that.
very good points.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, like you said, I think they need to use the money that they have. The company needs to use the money that they have, and they need to get someone special or pay the people who do the casting more
Hmm.
to do a better job.
Hmm.
Or I don't, you're allowed, I can't remember who, I think several people have said it on podcasts, but like pay the Reddit bitches,
Yeah,
like
yeah. And it's
pay,
at some point
like,
it's like if everyone's saying it, like you need to do it because
like
they
just hire the Bachelor Reddit people who are finding all these things. They're already doing it. Like,
yeah, Ashley Talks Tea was like, they have full-time jobs and they're doing your job for you. Like, pay them and they will do it. And like, I think I said on a different podcast, like one allegation of certain something or another doesn't always. I'm not saying you should just
yeah,
completely like, but do the work then. So something gets pinged, you see a comment,
yes,
do the
yes,
research and figure it out
yes.
because like
Look into it.
maybe it's whatever. Like I don't know, but like you have I know time is a little of a constraint, but like you do you and also go scout people out differently. I know you guys used to do scouting, like you can do that again, like
Yeah, yeah. Cast a wider net.
cast less men if you can't do it. Like genuinely the audience will not care if there's only 25 or 20 people. In
Well,
fact,
and
we like that for the
yeah,
Golden Bachelor and Golden Bachelorette. We like that there's less people. There's only 18 people left right now. Amen.
lovely, lovely. Less people's names I have to know for the first night. Like, and it's funny because I was talking to my mom about this earlier, and my mom was like, well, if they find something out, like, before the season starts, because I was telling her about how, like, people will send things to people, like, to the producers, like, or, like, talk about things, like, before the season even starts. She was like, well, then why don't they just take that person out and then there's just one less person? Like, why does that matter? And I'm like, I don't fucking know. I don't know. That's a great question.
I think this is like where I mentioned like at the beginning of the episode, it's like we're gonna talk this all out, and it's just like it's not gonna
Yeah.
feel any better per
Like, we're
se.
not gonna like have any answers. Like, we're not gonna, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
It's a, it's, this is like a, and you've said this a lot on your podcast. Like, this is an unfortunate like franchise to be a part of in many ways.
It's embarrassing.
It is, oh my God, when I tell people,
I'm so
when people are
sorry.
like, so like what do you like to do in like your spare time? Like what shows do you like to watch? And I'm like, The Bachelor. I'm like, I always go, wait, okay, so don't judge me. I watched The Bachelor, but not like that. But not like that.
But not like that, yeah. And that used to work. So I know because like that alone, that conversation alone is like hard, but you can usually get them because you're like, it's actually like a microcosm of our society, and like blah blah blah. And then
I
they're
watch
like,
it in
oh,
like a sociological
actually,
way.
they're like, whoa, okay, wait, and then they like want to know everything about it, right? Like we can get through that conversation. When I have E News posting, you know, two abusers in 2 weeks. It's like I can't fucking, I can't handle this. But Shannon reminded me, and I know that you bitches out there who watch other franchises, and if you're in the other franchises, there are pieces of shit everywhere. Reality
Yeah.
television
Yeah.
attracts them. So like I so this
Yeah.
is the life I've chose. I don't have time to go into another fandom because I'm trying to fix this one. but but like I know that there's like problems out the otherwhere, and like I know that like, and maybe because there's not like 20 podcasts talking about the Love Island peoples, that maybe we don't, maybe as a zeitgeist I don't know about those abusers as much because like for better or for worse, The Bachelor is a institution. It is
Mm-hmm.
the first and longest running reality dating
Yep.
show. It
Yep.
is here for a reason,
Yep.
and that reason is to drive us all mad and to an early grave. But it's here, and it is what it is, and it is the standard. And if
Yeah.
they can't get their shit together, then what do we have hope for any other fucking franchise? And I'm fucking sick of people telling me that this other franchise has better body diversity and better whatever. Okay, barely. Like barely. Like fuck
Yeah.
off. Like all of it is still just barely, and
The
all of
bar is
it's
on the
still,
floor.
yeah,
Like,
so like just let me talk about my show and no, it's fine. But
okay, Grant's cast though, sorry. This is
yes.
not what we're talking about, but
No,
just
we have to have a nice, we have to.
oh my God, those women. Oh my God. I was like, oh, the beauty.
Mhm.
Oh my God. And there were a few like curvy looking ladies, and I was like, I mean, this is from the waist up, kind of, or
Right,
like
yeah.
from like the like
Mhm.
chest-ish up. So I'm like kind of assuming. But I felt a little hope, a little
Yeah.
tiny.
And a lot of them are a little older, closer
Oh,
to
I didn't
Grant's
notice that.
age. Yeah. Like most of them are 25 and above.
Oh, I
Um,
love that.
so that's good.
I
And
love like a more mature, like
mhm, they need a win. Grant is amazing. Grant has he's successful, he's kind, he's a family man. He's
yeah.
really, he is the bachelor. Like he's the bachelor.
Yes.
He's the bachelor. He's the perfect choice in my opinion.
The little
Um
bit that we saw on the show of him like supporting the other men and like the like a few comments we saw him make like were very like emotionally mature. Like I just yeah, him being like I think he's 30, right?
yeah.
Or 31. Like love, 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 love a man in his 30s. Like yes, we don't need any more 20 something sorry 20 something year olds listening. We love you. Um but I love seeing some variety.
hmm Yeah,
Yes.
and he seems self-assured enough and like successful and just like
Yes.
ready to like ready for a family. Like he's traveled, he's done things, he has hobbies. It's like,
He
oh
has
my God.
tattoos.
His
Oh my God.
tattoos. Yeah,
Sorry, I love tattoos.
yeah, I mean, no, say yeah. Exactly. And it's like now I'm gonna fucking rip this flower rose tattoo I gave myself for the Bachelor out of my arm. No.
Oh no, don't do that. It's that was some the representative
Yes,
of the person you were in the past. That's
exactly.
what I tell myself about the tattoos that I don't love anymore.
Mhm.
That it's something to think about, something in the past. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Or there could be it could turn around. It could turn around. Grant, like we said, Grant is amazing. We love a cast of women.
Mhm.
And so like fingers crossed. And the Golden Bachelorette, even though the ratings weren't great, the first episode was like I
Yeah.
was thoroughly entertained. I was sobbing like of
Real
like
tears.
entertainment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like just loving Joan. Joan is like a bachelorette to her core, like a queen.
She
Like
really is. I didn't mention this in the recap. It was like, yeah, we just were like looking at a woman who was like made in a factory to be the lead, but like in a positive
yes,
way. Sometimes we say that negatively.
yes.
It's like, no, this
No, no,
was
no.
like,
In the best way.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
the way
yeah.
she made every man feel like, oh, she loves me. Like every single man was so confident of like the way that she's talking to me and like listening to me. Like they all said that in their ITMs. And then like men were still sent home. And I was just like, wow, I want to be seen by Joan. Like,
To be seen by Joan is the goal of all of us. Yes. God bless our
so
grandmother.
like, I mean, like it's like I feel like the Golden Bachelorette for me personally, it's kind of like a salve on the wound that is Devin and Marcus. Um,
Yeah.
but as Bachelor Clues said, I want to remember Jen's season for the historic things that it was. It was our first Asian American bachelorette, and it was our first bachelorette proposing to her choice. We're not gonna talk about who it was, but she was an amazing bachelorette. We stand
Yeah,
Jen.
me
We
too.
love Jen.
Yeah,
We are voting for her every week on Dancing with the
we
Stars.
are.
We're voting for her every week, Jen. And yeah,
No,
I
she
yeah,
was, yeah, she was great. She really represented a lot. She really did. She represented somebody who's a young
exactly.
professional going for her career, all
Love,
the, I mean, everything.
love,
She really, so, and also
love.
like even in the times where we were all like, "Oh, baby girl, stand up." She is. She's growing through that. We saw
Yeah.
it live. Like I think somebody also said that. Like they were like, "We're watching a season where we're seeing a woman who's it's so relatable, who's had a lot of daddy issues
Oh
and
my
is
God.
like learning it live in
Yes.
front of the entire world." And it was so beautiful to watch in that like scenario. I was just like, I love that, and like I
Absolutely.
didn't want her to get hurt in the process, but like obviously, but you're going to like unfortunately like we go through that and we go into our Saturn return, we go into all of this
Yes.
like with that journey, and so like I just like I think that's a great thing to also remember from our seasons. Like we watched
Yes.
somebody really throw their
Yes.
entire heart into it, and that had mixed results, but like ultimately the results are positive. Ultimately the
Yes.
journey she's on is going to make her a better human and find her love,
Yes.
hopefully with a woman.
Absolutely. Absolutely. She was so relatable. Oh, I mean, conspiracy. Yes. Jane on. I am in with you there for sure. Her post about God forgot my gay awakening or whatever, God.
Yeah,
I
totally.
was like,
She was like, when is it coming? I'm ready
oh
for
yes, that.
it.
I was
Yeah,
just like, she's listening, Jenna. She's listening to you.
I know she is. I love you, Jen.
And
We're
I love
dragging
your like
your we're dragging your
your
ex
couple
for
name,
you. Yeah, I know,
Jenna.
Jenna. It would be so easy. I would do everything for you, queen.
Dead. I looked at her comment section of that one, and it was all of the.
It was
Okay,
insane. People were like, I'm 30 minutes away. I will take care of you.
I have a motorcycle.
You don't even know. I'm on my knees now, please. So it's like, yeah, yeah. And that's the thing. And then Becca fucking Tilly was like, it'll happen when it's meant to happen. T T T T. And I was like, you fucking bitch, let's go. She's
Uh,
gonna be in contact with Tilly. She's gonna be in contact with Gabby. It's all fucking happening. And I've said it before. I don't want her to be in pain, but if she has to go through this to lead to that, then it's all part of the plan, and that's how it goes. As that was my journey, so I'm gonna project that
I
onto
mean,
her.
same. I mean, I'm not a lesbian now, but
But you
yes,
will one day.
thanks to a man, and I have a 2-year-old.
No, I don't give a shit, bitch. It's gonna happen to all of the good ones.
Oh my God. No, I love you. This is great.
Yeah.
No, I think ultimately totally like agree. Like Jen was like so relatable in so many ways, and we can all take away that from the season and just yeah. I think that this was like it's bleak.
Yes.
And we can like look at the few bright spots, the few, very few bright spots.
Yeah. In order to like persevere, in
Yes.
order to continue to go on, to ask the
Yes.
show to do better. And I think in times when we have succeeded as a fan base and getting them to do things is
Mm.
when there has been a really huge uproar. So, as Shannon said last week, we got Chris Harrison fired.
Oh
Devin is
yeah.
an idiot if he thinks that he can go toe to toe with a bunch of psychos.
Oh hell yes. My God. We are two in this. Like, we are two in this. He doesn't get it.
Yeah, I don't have hobbies, Devin. So
Literally, I don't have hobbies. This is my hobby.
sorry. And the same goes for you, ABC.com, Disney Plus, and
Yeah, you're
everyone in
not,
between.
you're included in
Yeah,
this.
yeah. You're not special. You're not getting away from. Just because he did something bad does not mean that you didn't do something bad and have continued to
Yes.
do many bad things. So
Yeah.
do better. Do
As
better.
listed above, scroll back.
Yeah, exactly. Like, um, do you have anything else you want to say as far as like your hopes and wishes and like what people can do to better their communities in this situation? And
I
then,
think just like this is taboo stuff and this is uncomfortable stuff and I understand why people don't want to talk about it or feel uncomfortable or don't have the energy and that's totally okay like we said earlier. But I think when you are able to when you do feel comfortable, when you do feel safe to do talk about it. Do support people who are experiencing it. I think the way that we're going to slowly change the way our society is by talking about it and I know that that's kind of cliche and it sounds tiring but it is true.
mhm,
We do have to talk about it because if we don't then it'll just keep going the way it is and no one will ever think twice about it. And so that's why I talk about it. um and so just yeah, be open-minded about it and be willing to have conversations with people, even if especially if they disagree with you.
mhm.
And yeah, it's
Ugh,
hard, but it's
it's hard,
important.
but it's important, and you will find community in that. And I
I
think something,
absolutely.
yeah, I think something you mentioned earlier was like it can our people's people the general populace the general populace's conception of what a survivor is not the reality. They put it in all these different things. I think when you open up yourself to having conversations with people, you learn that lesson sooner than later, and I think that's an important thing so that we can all like know who needs help and what happens, and like you can be more aware. Like I don't think I talked about this much, and I won't go into like real details, but like a couple months ago I was at a 24-hour fitness gym, and I saw something. Like I saw something that put off a red flag, and I was like not sure, and I felt embarrassed to intervene
Mhm.
originally. And I just kept watching the situation go down, and then I realized I had to say something. And so it took a lot for me to go up to this woman in the locker room and say, if you need help, I'm here. And she said, thank you, I'm okay, but thank you. And I'm glad I said it. And then 10 minutes later she came up to me and needed me to buy her a, a lift to her home because she was being harassed by her boyfriend. And I saw everything correctly. Like
Yeah.
my gut feeling was right.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so much so that the man came into the woman's locker room to come get her while I was in the middle of calling her a lift. He had run out of patience. He did not care that she was hiding in the locker room anymore and was going to come in. It was terrifying. And it was a really terrifying hour. But I got her home safely, and I don't know her, and I'll probably never speak to her again. But I just really am glad that I like didn't just say like this can't be happening right now,
Yep. Yes. Yes.
you know?
Yes. It's easy to like be in denial, right? Like it's easy to say like, "Oh, that must be like something else. That must be
Else.
not what I'm thinking it
It
is. I
is.
must be
Yeah.
misreading it."
Yeah.
Um, that's awesome
It
to
is. Yeah.
take that risk of like, I'm gonna approach this stranger and just like offer this. But it's so important to do that, to look out for each other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, absolutely, we should be doing that. And yeah, that's like another extremely important thing that I think we should all do for each other as just like people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just
Right.
like we can look out for each other.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And like, maybe get familiar with like our resources, right? I mean, there is just like a national hotline that will direct you even if you don't know your local resources, if you just know the National domestic violence hotline. You can literally just Google that anytime and you can call that and they will give you your local resources if you tell them where you are.
That's so cool. I
It's
love that.
so easy. RAIN is for sexual assault, RAINN. Um and I mean there yeah, so I think there are many, many different things that you can do to help being aware of resources, having conversations. But
And if
and
you're
I
afraid, if you're somebody who's experiencing something and you're not sure, I think ultimately even just reaching out to a resource center could be helpful just to talk to somebody about it. And in the end, it
yeah,
might not even be anything. It might like it doesn't have to be something. But
yeah,
like if you feel like you just need to talk to somebody, I think that's really important. And my
yeah.
DMs are always open to help you with that process.
Yeah.
I think
I answered a
yeah.
hotline for 5 years and people would call, not even give me a name, not even give me where they lived. They would just say, "Hey, I want to talk about my situation. Here's what it is." They would tell me what it is and they would say, "Okay, thanks for talking to me.
Hmm.
Goodbye." And that would be the end of our conversation. I would maybe say like, "Do you want any resources?" And they would say, "No." And I would say, "Okay, if you need anything else, give us a call back."
Yeah.
So the hotlines can be just for talking it out.
That's you. I love that. I love that. Mm. Oh, thank you so much, Natalie.
Yeah,
I do feel better in the end.
me too. No, no. This was like it was cathartic
Yeah.
and it was nice to like wrap it all up with like a few like I said little bright spots and
Yeah.
then like yeah, this was great. I'm so happy that you had me on and I love that I got to do this. This is like my favorite and yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure. And please come back and because unfortunately we'll probably have to have another conversation.
I'm gonna go scream into my pillow so I don't wake up my 2-year-old. Yeah, yeah,
Oh, anyway, but yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
yeah.
It's a
No, I
heavy
love
task,
this.
heavy conversation to have, but I'm glad that I knew you. The way you DM'd me, I was like, okay, they're ready to go. Let's do
Yes, this
it.
was so much fun. In the not the you know what
Yeah,
I mean.
exactly. In the way that it needed to be. Oh, no, I love it. Well, folks, thank you so much. I will just be in touch with you as listeners as far as what I'm doing with the rest of the season of Joan. I definitely will not be recording this week. It just was not going to happen, and I think I'm going to do a mid-season report, but maybe next week I might be on somebody else's podcast. So just stay locked and loaded to the Instagram for my thoughts and feelings as they go on. So that's really all you have to. That's all. I gotta go to bed.
Hell yeah, same.
Oh yeah, thank you so much. All right, bye everybody. Be safe.
Bye.